Just they're creating like a wind tunnel in there.
I just got
like a cyclone.
Yeah, I know. I haven't noticed the noises until you bring it up.
Yeah.
Where are they doing this?
Yeah, I know. Alright, anyway, I forgot what my tangent was, so I'll just get to it.
That's right, man.
Yeah, how you fellas doing?
What's going on?
Good.
Yeah, man, so thanks for jumping on. So 10K series, how you would make $10,000 in 30 days.
Nice.
The audience is sort of a younger demographic, so people like me, 19, I'm actually 20 years old, kind of not really sure what they want to do out of university. I think many people do. I'm still trying to find it out. I'm sure you guys are still searching here and there. And I just came up with this idea, as I told you before, just to how would you make $10,000 to show people that you don't necessarily need a job to make the money to kind of figure out what you want to do. And so here we are today. So to get into context about you guys, because I found you guys on Instagram, and actually just to break the ice a little bit, why did you respond to I sent a message to you, Sam. Why did you respond to me? I always find it really interesting as a starting conversation.
Why? Well, we love telling our story. We have a great story. We've gone through the ringer. We've also, gone through some incredible times, and I think it's really important to share your story to both young and old. And the more that we talk about it, it's really interesting because the more that we talk about our story, I think the more that Benny and I grow as individuals. We start to understand each other as people, as business partners, as mates. We start to even, figure out where we want to take the brand. So it's almost like a brainstorming session as well. Every time when we talk on a podcast, it's actually really educational and really good for value for us.
It's like an appreciation as well of like us just acknowledging where we've come from.
Like
I think sometimes, you don't really get to sit down and really reflect, as you said, or acknowledge, the tough times, the things you've gone through, the things that we've done together, or maybe even our successes. You don't always sit down and talk about them. So I think that like when you do a podcast, you finish and you always feel really great because you're like, wow, we have done a lot.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And that's a good feeling to talk about it.
Also just like, when you reached out and when people reach out to us all the time for us to tell our story, just so grateful for that. It's incredible.
It's an incredible feeling that you can.
It's incredible people that someone has gone, wow, the ACAI brothers, they look pretty cool. I want to figure out what's going on in their world so hopefully they can potentially inspire other people around them. Like, that's really rewarding.
Yeah, fascinating. And probably more fascinating how long it took me to kind of figure out that I wanted to get you guys on. I probably saw your profile first and then saw Ben's, and I was like, it probably took 5 seconds maybe. I mean, each and I was like, all right, these boys have to jump on. I jumped on, like no copy pasting messaging shit. Like I actually, wrote the message custom. I was like, I've got to get these guys on. And you responded like within like at least 2 minutes. Like
that's
literally, like I didn't even close Instagram yet.
Good. It's good.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Made a habit of it. A lot of franchise leads, a lot of stores. Everyone sort of contacts us through all these different networks. So I think we're always sort of on.
You're always on it. Yeah.
It's exciting, especially because what's your Instagram handle?
Life of Gabe.
Life of Gabe, yeah. Who's this?
It's very interesting.
Who's sliding into my DM?
I know.
It's you got to check in on that. And then as soon as we thought it was a podcast opportunity, it's like great. Another person we can tell our story to. Fantastic. Let's do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's get into it. So your story. So you guys are mates, obviously. Have you always been close mates prior to this business, or how did you guys come to meet?
Yeah, so like we both of us grew up in a little place called the Redlands. I don't know, maybe some of the people listening in know where the Redlands is. It's just outside of Brisbane, probably 40 minutes outside, in a little bayside area. And that place is a pretty small community. So myself and Sam grew up playing sport. And if you were, quite good at sport, you were quite well known in the area. And I think that both of us knew who each other were throughout our sort of childhood period. We didn't go to the same school. But it wasn't until we probably started sort of competing against each other in some sports and things like that. Well, Sam was more track and field, and then I was more like AFL and baseball, some more of the team sports stuff.
Right.
So, and then it really took us until we probably met our past girlfriends that we really started hanging out more and more because they were good friends.
Can you please tell the story?
Not everyone's past girlfriends. I've got a wife now, he's got a fiance, but no, it's times change.
Exactly. Cut that out.
But we used to spend every single Christmas together at Noosa, and we sort of had a common love. We both owned gyms at the time. That's sort of where our background was in fitness, and had a commonality and just loved business and got talking. And
how do you know you love business? Okay, you're in fitness. That's pretty. Everyone kind of finds if you're in fitness or not. But what about? How do you know if you're into business? Was entrepreneur a word then?
Well, not really.
There wasn't many people calling themselves entrepreneurs, if you want to put it that way. Like, entrepreneur was a word, but it wasn't people walking around saying, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Like in year 8, I became a qualified track and field coach. So I specialised in like training people for hurdles, 100 metre and 200 metre. And then I started my own coaching business. And that then in year
like 16.
Yeah, 16. I was coaching people who were a lot younger than me, and I was also coaching people who were in year 12.
Yeah.
And so I was theoretically running my own coaching business, and that there I was like, this is really interesting. And then they started to put on the agenda of like business and innovation classes in year 10, and I was like, this is really interesting, this is really cool. And by about year 10, I really started to love the idea of business, owning your own business, creating an idea, and then executing that idea. And since then, I've just loved it.
So in year 10 was kind of your self-awareness period. Did you start something? I mean, you had your coaching. Was that the main?
Yeah, coaching was really it. I mean, I was always, like a lot of successful entrepreneurs, I'm always selling something, selling something on the side. I was always selling something on the side.
Right.
Then, whether it was like balloons or straws or something to do with track and field or whatever it might be, things on Gumtree and eBay. So the fundamentals were there for me to go, okay, well, I sort of like this. I like the idea of selling stuff, and I like the idea of running your own business. But year 10, like you said, it was a great self-awareness year for me to really realise, okay, well, you've got track, but you've also got this love of business. Let's ride these two waves and see where it takes you.
Yeah. And straight after university, you jumped straight into that, or did you still kind of go along the general route, which is university?
So Benny and I, we both went down the professional path for our sports. And so I was a track and field athlete. I specialised in 400 metre hurdles. And by about the age of 18, I represented Australia at the World Youth Olympic Festival, 400 metre hurdles, and I won gold. At that point, though, by about that next following year, I started to really hate track and field.
That same year?
Yeah, after winning gold, I absolutely started to hate it. The coach who was my mother at the time, she still is my mother, but but she would tell me to do a rep or a 400 metre rep or a 100 metre rep, and I'd say no. Because 18 was when I started to truly realise, okay, well, where do I want to take my life? What do I want to do? And so at that year, 18 to 19, I remember going to the jewellery store, buying a diamond ring for my mum, who was also my coach, and I put it on her bed and I said, thank you so much for the last 10 years, but I'm out. Done. And then that's where I started to figure out, okay, well, where do I want to take my life now? So I started studying an extended major in marketing after school. I did that for 2 years full time, and I'm like, holy shit, this is really hard being a university student and not earning any money. So then I went university part-time, and then I started to find some jobs on the side.
Right.
And that was, in marketing companies. I was working at IGA.
Like agency marketing companies?
Yeah, like big print and media. You remember print and media was a thing?
Yeah, right.
It was marketing. It was print media.
It was print media, and I was doing sales for print media, and I remember I was like, call a company and be like, hey, Jeff, we've got this 4x5 media thing that we would love you to put you in. It's $500 a month. Would you be keen? And I lasted 48 hours there because
48 hours.
I just didn't like the idea of selling something that I didn't believe in. And I started to move into the health and wellness sector. I started to move into the Good Life Health Club businesses, and then I went from sales to membership consultant to then club manager, and then I started to move into the gym industry, and then I figured out a way to try and get involved in Snap Fitness, which was an emerging 24/7 gym franchise back then. And so I moved over to Snap, managed Victoria Point Snap for around 2 years, and then I had the opportunity to be able to invest in some funds for Snap Fitness Cleveland.
Right.
And when we first took over Snap Fitness Cleveland, the gym had around 680 members. It was voted the worst club in the world. I took that gym from 680 members to around 1750 to be one of the top.
How many, sorry? 600 to 1750?
Yeah, 680 members to 1750 members.
So over to 250%.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And this is when 24/7 gyms were exploding, and all you needed was a great personality behind the counter to show the 1%ers like clean showers and clean gym and then hello or goodbye, and you would do really, really well.
Right.
did that, and so that's my journey up until that side.
Yeah, right. And what about yourself, Ben? You kind of skip over that, go backwards.
No, I think it was very similar. Like as Sam said, like we both went down a professional athlete route. So I, at that time, chose to go down baseball. That was sort of the sport that I was playing most, and I felt like I had the most chance of, and it was something that I always wanted to do. So moved out to America when I was about 18, so very, very young. Played professionally for a couple of years, and got really, really homesick.
Right.
I was living on the pretty much on the Mexican borderline, on the southeast of Texas as you can go, literally on the borderline. So the hotel was right across from the Rio Grande River, and the whole 10th floor of the building was 24-hour police surveillance for people literally jumping the fence and swimming across the Rio Grande River. So it was a really crazy outdoor experience at 18 to be experiencing that. So I did that for a couple of years. I moved to California, played baseball there as well before I just getting homesick and being like, I just can't. I have mates at the time.
I hear a lot of people that play sport in the US.
Well, it's tough. Like, it's a different place. Like, let's be honest, like, Australia's a beautiful country and it's an amazing place, but also the fact is that I had no family. You know what I mean? All my family was back in Australia, and I was 18 and I was in a very different place. It's not like California, which I did feel more comfortable in, but I think by the time I moved to California, I already had made up my mind that I wanted to go home. So went back home.
Were you happy you went to California though?
Well, I was. I think I loved it, but I think that once, I've always been like this, but once I make my mind up, whether that's I make my mind up on a person or I make my mind up on a business idea, like I'm just one of those people that just, that's it, that's where I'm going now. I'm just going to go down that path, and at that point it was like, I want to go home and I want to go back to university. So went straight back to university, and I went into human movements. And I did a bachelor.
What is human movements?
Well, it's like a sports degree to do with the human body. So like it's probably the easiest way to put it down. So like most people do it these days, like a bachelor of human movement. So I think a lot of it's clinical exercise physiology now. So that's sort of what we moved into. So I did 4 years of that before going on to do a 2-year master's degree in exercise science as well. Specializing in strength and conditioning of elite athletes. So that's where I really wanted to go down the path. My goal was like, well, if I'm not going to be a professional athlete, I want to train professional athletes or get, amateur kids to the point where they could be a professional athlete. So that sort of drove me throughout that time. When I was at university, I opened up a little PT studio as well.
Throughout university?
Yeah, definitely. Like as soon as I got back, pretty much at 19, when I stopped playing baseball, I pretty much came home and said, I'm just going to have a break from baseball. I had enough, and started a little PT studio. Worked out of my high school's gym, and I was like first one to open their gym, bought the equipment, and did all that stuff. It was pretty cool. And then went and opened my own little PT studio in Birkdale, just a little 90 square meter gym where I built up, trained athletes, trained the general population, and then took a big dive around 22. Which was towards the end of my first degree, to open up a bigger gym in Capalba in a big warehouse, much bigger. It was like a big investment for me at the time, and luckily it all paid off moving to this bigger gym, and did that while doing my master's degree before we found ACAI Brothers just down the track when we were about 25. So.
I was going to say, I'm so jealous you did that. I've always wanted to start a business. I really wish to start a business during school or during university. I think there's such a big market there for students. Man,
I think that people just don't take accountability to themselves. I think people get caught up in the whole world of being a uni student. I think like uni is a great time. Like, but at the end of the day, you can literally choose when you want to go to your tutes. You can choose when you want to go to your lectures. You're pretty much on a holiday, really. Like, and a lot of uni students just use that time sometimes to not do other things, because you might only be at university 3 days a week, but what are you doing the other 2? You know what I mean?
It's a perfect time. It's a perfect place for an entrepreneur, though, if you think about it. Because there are so many different areas you can go to. Like, there's 100%. Every different sector you can taste that
go to uni.
Yeah,
How many people are at uni?
Yeah, you're building a real database.
I think it's like exactly. Yeah. I think it's like 50,000 people or so that graduate UQ every year, or somewhat more or less. A lot of internationals.
Yeah.
Just there's so much opportunity. Like,
there's definitely a lot of opportunity. And I think a lot of people just don't take that next leap, which is actually trying to dabble in the business world or try and actually execute their idea. Man, we opened up ACAI Brothers, and obviously we'll get to the AV story, but I was still doing uni.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and you had the gym, and I had the gym, and I was doing my master's degree.
So we're
both still in uni,
we're both still owning gyms. We're both opening up our brand new baby, which is ACAI Brothers. Like, there was a lot going on in that world. A lot going on.
But
you
couldn't you just test it at uni? Like, I mean, if I was back there again, if I was doing acai, I would go like hand out my acai for free in uni. I'd go to open.
Amazing testing ground, testing ground, and no one really cares. Like at the end of the day, no one at uni cares, and most people you don't even know. And like, and your friends are going to tell you straight to your face if it's no good. You know what I mean? Like everyone's pretty honest as well. So if it works at uni, most times, especially when it was us, uni students are pretty much our demographic. A lot of that age group is like a lot of our prime customers as well. So like it would have been perfect for us to do it. Yeah. It just so happened that we had gyms and we used that database of people instead.
Sure.
So that was sort of our
all right. So we'll go off the tangent of me being totally jealous of the idea that you did that. I just thought it was fascinating though. So you guys obviously met together and you're always mates, which is pretty cool. When did the idea of Acai Brothers kind of come up?
Yeah, so it was actually at New Year's in 2013. Like we both remember pretty well. So
12 blinds.
Yeah, we were a couple of drinks in, and like I think that sometimes it's the best time. Like it's the best time. Yeah.
Well, that's the idea. That's the idea drink.
Exactly it. I think that at the time in our gyms we had a lot of clients coming in. Like the fact is when you're in a gym you still train people, and people like in the fitness industry they still care about their nutrition as well. So people talking about superfoods and the word acai pops up, and as a gym owner, as a personal trainer, you start to look into the world of what your clients are eating, what they're putting in their body to make sure that you can give them at least some sort of feedback on it.
What year was this, by the way?
2013.
And this is Acai, obviously it was quite new.
There wasn't much around. I think there was just a couple of bowls popping up here and there around Brisbane and a few cafes, and no one really dedicated to superfoods or acai at the time. I think acai has only been really in Australia, I think for about 10, 12 years. I think it was one of the brands brought it in back then, but it wasn't until, as I said, around 2013 that it really started to pop up more and more, and people started to mention the word. A lot of people still can't say it properly to this day, but they started to talk about the word acai. So that's where it popped up into our heads. We started talking more about it on the night. We said, hey, like why don't we dedicate an entire restaurant or a cafe to acai? No one's doing like acai bowls.
And you tested it, right? Like did you talk about it at your gym already? Like people already
not really. Test.
You ask people?
The reason why I say it like that is purely for the fact that if you, I guess, fast forward like 6 months later, once the idea was in concrete,
right?
We had a beautiful friend of ours called Michelle Kerricks. She actually helped us out with our menu because remember we came from a gym.
Yeah, of course.
Now we're doing hospitality.
It's
like
it's two different worlds.
Yeah, two different worlds, and we invited our parents, we invited our good friends, and we said, guys, we're gonna let you taste our menu.
Me and Sam are going to make it. You're going to try our juices and you're going to try our bowls. Right. So we've never made it in anything before.
And you guys physically made it?
We physically made it in the kitchen.
With the help of everyone was sitting around the kitchen and like we were cold press juicing and we were
taking forever.
Making the bowls. It was just ridiculous. And he said, I'm not cold press juicing when we open up this store because it just took so long. And there was so many other little jokes that we sort of bring up, like old war stories now. But
it's a cleaning.
I remember it plain as day, man. Like Benny's dad got a juice, my mate got a juice, and my mate looked at us and he was like, "Why don't you just stay in the gym industry?"
Even at my dad was like, "What are you doing? What are you guys doing?"
That's a great feedback.
Honest, right?
I think that like we were doing so well in the gym industry at that time. Like both of us had successful gyms. We were making good money for people that were 24 or whatever at the time. We were making great money. You know what I mean? So at that time, I think it's very easy to get complacent and be like, I can just keep doing this forever and make 150 grand a year, and I'm young and this will be fine. But I think both of us are just the type of people that always wanted more, wanted to test ourselves and push ourselves. And I think that's I think it's the natural definition of an entrepreneur, isn't it? As someone that is continually striving to find ways to create new things. I think that you can't stop thinking. Curious people. Exactly. So we couldn't help ourselves.
Just like I think like curiosity is definitely one of them, but then I just think like the love of the journey and the love of business. It's just such a
feeling.
You actually get addicted to that feeling of like, wow, this is potentially an idea, and then you start going along the journey and then you can execute it. And that's actually a really powerful, beautiful thing. And you become addicted to that.
Did you ever find like kind of almost damaging in a way? Do you have you hired someone to hold you back a bit, or do you guys kind of hold each other back to like keep committed? Because I always feel like that curiosity is a blessing, but also can sometimes be like self-destructing because you always just want to try something new.
Oh, we
like, how does that
yeah,
work?
no, I definitely, we know people in our lives that I think that have unbelievable ideas but don't necessarily execute on those ideas because before they get to the point of execution, they're already thinking about the next thing. And I think that one good thing that me and Sam have always done is that every idea we've had, we've always followed it through. And I think that comes with, I think both of us do that naturally where we hold each other back, where we're just like, I can get ahead of myself all the time with what we want to do. And then Sam will go, well, we can't do that right now. And I think that like, it works both ways. It
works well,
and that's how this dynamic works really, really well. But there are definitely people out there that I think that have great ideas that don't execute at all, or there's great ideas that go to execute but then find something else and it's like the new shiny thing and they want to go that direction and they forget to even execute on the one idea and they spend their whole time just creating ideas that they never execute on.
And I think a lot like stemming from that, if I look at it in our franchise model right now, is that some people can be a multi-site owner and some people can't be a multi-site owner. So some people can have one store and some people can have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
Right.
Because you're wired differently. And so I think for us, it's just a self-awareness thing. Like we thrive off having multiple things on our shoulders at any given time because it makes us feel more productive.
I feel that, yeah.
You just feel better. When you're just like, you got the same thing every day, you feel numb.
Yeah,
it's very boring.
That there for the people who are wired differently is not stimulating at all. And so like it just comes down to that self-awareness.
Oh, that's good to hear though. Like I just don't hear that enough. Like just to quickly put an example, like I just started selling dog beds online 2 days ago.
Nice.
Like
that's good. Dog stuff's great.
Dog stuff's
a great idea.
And I don't have a dog anymore, but like I just had to do it because I was told you're gonna sell something, and I was like, all right. And I was so bored, and I just like also just put my resignation for my job. And people are like, why? Like you don't even have a degree, and you got hired. I'm like, I know, but I'm just bored. Like it's just like, and it's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know. I'll just figure something out.
Yeah.
And so and then I just started selling dog beds, which has been fun. I got a few sales. I lost money at the same time, but
I know it's your podcast, but who tells you like to sell something online? Because I'm really, Benny and I, we talk about this all the time, like 18, 19-year-olds being told to sell things online and running their own e-com brand.
Yeah, right.
Dropship. Like everything's about
that's
dropshipping.
Like, where does that
I like
pressure
how we
come
learned that
from?
conversation, and we'll go back to the story after. Where does that come from? Well, first of all, with dropshipping from myself as a 20-year-old, so perfect example. I found it myself, I could say, meaning that I found it. I think. What did I find? I didn't do a course or anything. I think I just kind of stumbled into it somewhere. And I just like, I gotta give this a go. And I think I was in year 10 at school when I during modern history class, I built a store, I remember. I actually really liked that class too, but I just had to create it. And I started selling like wooden bamboo glasses. I think if you haven't sold wooden bamboo glasses, you're not an entrepreneur. But everyone has. And I just started selling it, and I lost a lot of money again. But like I made probably 150, probably spent 300 on Facebook ads. This is probably 2015, 2016.
300 grand or
$300.
$300. Which is about 300 grand to me then.
Where's your office so we can go to your podcast room?
Yeah, well it's a $900 camera, so so I did that, and so I really loved it, but I had an extreme amount of pressure, to be honest, because I ran 2 stores at once, and I remember that was really stressful, and I could hardly sleep thinking about like, oh my god, am I going to lose another $1 overnight? It's changed a little bit now, my perspective. But that kind of pressure, that wanting to sell, just kind of was internal. Again, I was told to sell on another podcast. He's like, I was just telling him about myself and how my marketing and stuff, and I don't have necessarily that much confidence in teaching marketing. And he's like, oh, you just got to start selling, and you got to get the result. He said he's in fitness. Like, you guys are kind of in fitness, right?
Yeah,
you were.
You still are.
You were, right? You still are, right? Still got the muscles. So he's like, I got the result. And the easy thing about fitness is, once you're big, and he was a bodybuilder, right? Once you're big enough, then, the result's very, very visible. You can go tell people, okay, if you want to look like me, that's what you do. So it's the same with sales. You gotta sell, 100 grand worth of things or 10 grand worth of things. Then you can start teaching people how to market.
Sure.
So you get the results. So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna start selling shit. So that's where my pressure came.
Okay.
Not pressure, where the spark came to wanting to sell.
Sure.
But I really love it as well.
Yeah.
As you can hear my voice. Also,
It's an
the voice
addictive feeling, definitely. I'm sure it's an addictive feeling. I think that anything in business, and I think that what people get addicted to as well in business is like when you create an idea or you have something, and then all of a sudden other people start thinking about it, or they wake up. Like for us, it still blows our mind that someone wakes up out of bed and goes, I'm going to Acai Brothers today. It's like, hang on, we created Acai Brothers, and that thought's now in a person's head, and then now going into our store to buy our product that we created as well. Like, and out of the store in which we help build. Like, so all these things are like that process of just sort of patting you on the back of like, well done, something's actually working. So I can see the sales side getting addictive to that point where you sell something, you're like, well, I did that from start to finish. So
and like that there is, people will have the idea, they'll put it out to market, it doesn't sell. Oh my god, I'm terrible. See you later. Going back to my
hilarious.
But then as soon as something happens and someone starts buying your product, that's when you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna double down on this now. And I'm really gonna start to leverage this.
But I gotta just jump in as well. Like, people would sell, but they would lose money still. And that's what I did. But like, now you get a bit more perspective. Like, you studied marketing, right? Like, you're obviously in marketing. Like, you get that we're paying for customers, not just front end sales, right? And so you want to acquire customers, because if you buy a customer for yourself, that means that's one less customer for your competitor.
Sure.
And so I get that. Like, like, if I pay $300 for a $50 product, but I still know that I bought that customer. So I've got a year perspective on that. So I feel like that also lowers my feeling of defeat if I lose money.
It's really interesting because like when we have a prospective franchisee inquire about the brand, at not one point throughout the sale process do we say, so do you want to sign up?
Right.
Because by then, you've created so much value, you've given them so much information, they've met the entire team, they've been to our stores, they've got the story. You don't need to ask. It's their call anyway.
It is, Well, you make them make the decision. Put it in their mind.
But like, I think that's the difference between sales and marketing is because like, I think sales, you don't create any value. Like, there's no value at all. Like, theoretically, every salesman should be a marketer.
And quick question, like, so where do you guys advertise your business primarily?
We've always been online, like socially. So like whether that's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or now we're like more and more into LinkedIn because I think like it's just becoming a big platform.
Ads or
like a lot of organic in LinkedIn. We're not doing much of the paid adverts, even though it's probably more affordable for us to look in that direction. And it probably does suit a lot of what we're doing in terms of say franchise sales would actually be great through a LinkedIn platform. Like we still use Facebook a lot for our franchise sales, and we do a lot via Instagram, a lot on stories, a lot on IGTV. So we use a lot of that network because like for us, we still consider ourselves a startup company, and forever we're always looking at ways in which we can best spend our money, and like bang for buck, it's always going to be, the best way for us to convert. The fact is we can spend $17 getting a lead, but that's a $65,000 franchise. So like that's a huge conversion, you know what I mean? So like, or we could pay a broker and we could pay them, 20% of the fee, say, and maybe that's $20,000 or whatever that we're going to pay them. $17 versus $20,000. Like, yes, we may have to sift through, a lot of people that might not be right, but at the end of the day, if we can get 1 out of 100, like it's still great. So we still use that platform a lot because it's just, as I said, I feel like it's more bang for our buck at times. So,
it sounds like big picture thinking, really.
And a lot of our demographic are still on all those platforms. It's just where it is now. Like if we're trying to connect with our customers, then we've got to be on those platforms because the majority of our customers are in that age group where they're using it.
Otherwise someone else will jump on and take that attention off you.
Exactly it.
And then back to your question about like why dropshipping is big and the whole concept of marketing. Like for example, a perfect example is like ClickFunnels. Are you guys familiar with ClickFunnels? Have you ever used ClickFunnels? Like I feel like there's so much excitement behind. Like it's a good product. Like it's very convenient, but like the hype built behind it, that's the marketing, right? Like they're just a perfect example of like this brand that just builds up like that excitement. Like how you guys probably sell to a franchisee, is that the word? Franchisee. You probably build so much excitement that they're like, oh my gosh, that the perceived value just outweighs anything in reality. And that's how like the new kind of entrepreneurship's coming in.
I just find it interesting because I think that like where we've always come from is that our key thing whenever we do anything is building a brand, right? So I always find dropshipping a really interesting thing because a lot of these people are just like say using Alibaba and then they're directing just a random product and they're putting it onto a random page with no brand and they're just selling a random product. And I think that like that's fantastic and that's working, but I think just like influencer marketing, it's gonna start to change, and I already feel the landscape changing a little bit on dropshipping, where I think that at the end of the day, you need to be able to build a brand because people are going to attach themselves to a brand more, and you're always going to sell more. You're talking about, buying a customer. Well, brands buy customers. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like you could choose between some random workout clothes on Alibaba or a dropshipping company, or you go to Lululemon.
So 10K in 30 days.
No pressure. The last person did it in 7 days, according to his mind.
Holy jeez.
Yeah. Well, he's had a lot of confidence, but not the limitless dude. Chris has just said, I'll do it in 7 days, and he told me how to make 50 grand in 30 days. Pretty specifically, too.
Multi-level marketing, I'm assuming?
No. That's definitely not a 30-day process.
No.
That is not a 30-day process. But, yeah, I know. They would hate that, those jokes. Luckily, not even
That's why I said it.
No, luckily,
you said it to her.
Luckily, as one person I interviewed, there was a multi-level marketer. She's very cool, but and she made it actually very quickly, to be honest. She actually made her first year within the first few months. At the 6 figures, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Using Instagram. Anyways, and we're back again after our little break. So again, the theme of this is the 10K series. So it's a mini series. Just in case you don't know as well, the podcast is called Business Badasses. Cool. And this is like season 1, the 10K series. Again, the idea is, how would you make $10,000 in 30 days if you had to start from scratch? And what does scratch mean? Scratch means that you have no network. Scratch means that you have no experience. And scratch means that, no experience, no network, no skills. So
No network, no skills.
No skills. So you don't have any skills. You are back to square zero. Back to pretty much at uni.
How old are we?
You can be as old as you are. I'd say now, to be honest.
29.
Right. Yes.
Wow. No skills.
Right now, scrap everything. It's like everything we've done.
Yeah, everything you've done, right? At Lindo. So you can have memory if you like, but I just like to...
Thank you.
You remember everything you've done, so you've got some sort of knowledge, like you know how you kind of go about it.
Yeah.
But I like to take away the skill set and the network, because a lot of people could just rely on that to get their money quite easily.
100%. Yeah, so, I think that like for us these days, like we never worry about too much, because obviously we built a pretty strong network and we built a lot of skill sets. So like for us, it's not as hard to be able to like, I can grab that idea and I can do this and I could use this person and I can use this and I can go to that supplier. Like, so starting with absolutely nothing is definitely like a very scary place to go, because even when I started my gym, I had a skill set, I still, did my human movements degree and things like that. So in terms of me, like I think that it semi does require skill set, but I think it's a skill set you can learn pretty quickly anyway. Right. Like something that we play around with now, and I think that a lot of businesses need to focus on as well, is automation. So I think that like there's a lot of possibility in working with back-end automation for a lot of companies and cleaning up a lot of their processes. So whether it's a sales or a product company, I find that being able to create a back-end CRM to be able to trap people's data, push that to a particular, whether it's an EDM campaign or whether pushing that into a social media campaign to be able to market to a particular audience and send them another email, send them a text message, doing sort of stuff is like in the back end automation is something that a lot of businesses could get a lot of value out of.
Right.
So you could easily charge a couple of $1,000s for a client, and you can reach out to clients and different businesses on Instagram. You can start with local businesses.
You go DM.
Exactly, yeah. You can go DMing. I think that like using Instagram to DM people and build your own network from that isn't going to be very hard.
And you'd sell that like $1,000 approximate. I know I'm just putting on the spot, but like $1,000 CRM. So like managing leads.
Mate, like you could go to a company like Active Campaigns, for example, which is an inbuilt CRM. You could learn that very, very quickly. Yeah. You could be able to go to a business and be like, look, have you ever thought about an automated email campaign where we can direct certain emails and certain information to your audience that you're trapping through a social media campaign that you set up. So whether you're trying to sell socks and you've got a social media campaign with all your leads, whether they're a hot lead, cold lead that have gone to your website and you want to funnel different information so you don't have to do it, manually by yourself, I can build a back-end automation that will target these particular people and send them different pieces of information and drive them into different social media audiences to be able to retarget them and get them, the sale at the end of the day. So I think that even though that does require a little bit of a skill set, that's where I would probably go straight away, because I think there's a lot of people doing, the social media thing as well now. Like they'll go to companies and be like, I can do your social media for you, but there's not many people that are really looking at that back-end automation and building out some of those CRMs for businesses, which I think is important.
Yeah. So I think it's hard to demonstrate value for that upfront value, because I guess social media is easy because it's like, we'll get you certain followers or we'll get you certain amount of sales.
Sure, but there's a lot of people that already have social media in-house, already have social media agencies doing stuff for them. Right. So I think that you can come from the other angle of like, yeah, cool, well now I can automate that and ensure that, from a franchise perspective, we use it for our a lead generation for franchisees. So when we have a franchisee inquire, they go through a whole process so that Sam doesn't have to sit there and manually email every single one and then call them. So like there's those processes you can take off small businesses. Like even if it's just someone that has people inquiring about a product that they have, you can now streamline that process to get to a point where the people that they talk on the phone are only the hottest of leads. They're not the person who was just inquiring because they rang the wrong number or whatever, they emailed the wrong email. So like that I think is really, really cool. I think also...
How'd you get those customers though?
In terms of...
I
just think reaching out to businesses. Like,
because they know that you lost everything and they're like, oh, who's this guy?
They know I've lost everything. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just adding a twist to it.
Sure. I thought it was just a uni student coming out of it.
No, you are, how old are you?
30. I'm 30.
You're 30.
Yeah. So I don't think that the fact that I think that like, if you're going to go up from that angle, I don't think the fact that I've lost everything would be a deterrent at all. I think that sometimes being like, I built a successful, I built a successful franchise that was still, functioning. We had 20 stores and we grew to this level. Yes, there's a few things that didn't work. It's not because I wasn't, good at what I did or I wasn't a great human or whatever. I think that you can't hold that necessarily against someone. So I think there's a lot of positives in that. I think...
Can I just add to that? The reason why I don't think it's a negative is purely for the fact that it's relatable. So many people fail so many times, but no one ever talks about it. Because it sounds shit and it's such an ugly conversation to have. But it was so interesting. The other day I had a conversation with someone who's a builder. And I spoke to him and he's like, how's it all been? How was it back in the day, like a couple of years ago? And I was very honest. I said it was hard. It was really, really hard. Like really, really hard. And we dove into it a little bit more. And he's like, dude, I'm so glad you just said that because I thought you were just breezing through life. And immediately the ice was broken.
Yeah.
So when you've lost everything, it's actually pretty cool.
It's like for a report, we build a report.
Yeah, it's so relatable.
I think it's still, people can definitely relate to it. I don't see it as a negative, and I think that some people can get caught up with like going, oh yeah, I lost it all, I can't do anything anymore, no one's going to respect me. But I think it's the opposite, to be honest. The fact is you still put yourself out there to lose it all. Not many people are even willing to do that. So I think there's a lot of you've got to have a lot of respect for people that do that.
Right, okay. So you turned it into an advantage for when you reach out to people.
Yeah,
would you mention it straight up? Or would you...
I don't think it's going to be something that comes up in conversation straight away. Maybe they might recognise us and be like, weren't you in a slave or not? I'm sure maybe it might come a conversation. I just don't think you should shy away from some of those conversations.
And would you be messaging people directly, asking them, hey, would you ask to do work for free first, or would you just go straight up and tell them?
I think that, look, you've got to build a body of work with anything, and that's the generation we've come from. Like even when I was doing strength and conditioning, like it's still, I think the industry is still the same. You've got to earn your stripes, and sometimes that means doing some certain things for free. Right. And I think that even when a videographer, like they can't go out do the best ads and never created an ad for anyone before, and sometimes it takes you walking in and being like, let me create an ad and show you how good I am. So I think sometimes it might be going to a company and be like, let me from start to finish set you up in automation, show you what I can do. And whether that person ends up investing in you and going, yep, I want to pay you to continue to do this for me, or whether you can then use that as something to another company and go, look, I walked over to company A and I was able to set up this, and now they've improved their sales funnel by this much. This is something I can do for you. They don't need to know that these guys didn't pay you. The fact is you still did do that.
You got a portfolio.
Exactly, yeah. So you're putting a portfolio. So yeah, I think automation's an interesting
That is. I've never heard that before.
So
I know about automation, but I've never heard it being mentioned as.
Yeah, look, without a skill set, it can be learnt pretty quickly. So I think it's, you're still going to need a little bit of a skill set. I think as well, like obviously the product side, like we talk about it all the time. I'm sure people talk about it like from an e-com. It's very easy for a kid these days to be able to create a product or get a product and sell it. But from our industry, which is really interesting, is potentially using products that might be discarded products. Whether you can look at like macadamia shells and you can look at all the benefits of macadamia shells, but odds are macadamia shells get chucked away and thrown away. So maybe that's a free product that you can get your hands on, whether you go to a local fruit market and you go, okay, have you got macadamia shells, or whether you go to a company that uses macadamia in their stuff but they don't use the shell, and you go, can I have all your macadamia waste? I'll take it off your hands for free. Heck, they might even pay you to take the waste off them because they're paying someone else to do it. Then you can use that product, you go home, you can grind that down into a scrub. You can grind that down into a scrub. Macadamia is great for your skin, for example. So you could grab that into some sort of scrub, you can make that into some sort of powder that you could use for other products. So
is it something you'd probably consider doing?
That's something that I really thought about. Like the fact is that like there's so many different things where I think in the industry that we're in, what we see is there's a lot of opportunity in products that people are using and discarding for waste, because those products, like it's like coconut shells, for example. We have a good friend of ours named Jake who created coconut bowls. Look up coconut bowls, nearly 1 million followers on Instagram.
Oh, really?
What he does is he literally goes to Vietnam and gets coconut bowls and uses coconut bowls and sells them to people to put smoothie bowls in, and now has a multi-million-dollar company selling coconut bowls. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. So there's a heap of that happening. Plus, it really touches on the whole sustainability side where people want to be more sustainable and more conscious. So I think that there's a lot of different businesses finding different materials and maybe discarded waste and turning them into something that people want to buy.
Yeah, wow.
And it doesn't cost you any money, and as long as you can make it at home and you have some sort of skill level to sell it online.
The win-win, you're helping your customers be more sustainable, you're profiting, you're helping the business.
So I think there's two different ways in which I would potentially go about it.
That's awesome.
It does come from some past knowledge. So,
you got the knowledge, and you don't really need a skill set to do some of those things.
No.
I love the macadamia knowledge idea. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Give it a shot.
Right, Sam.
Well, look, I'm going to go down probably a different path.
All right. Cool.
Because 30 days is short. It's very short. And 10 grand, right? So you can look at that as a lot of money, or you can look at it as not that much.
Right.
In this instance, I don't look at it as that much. So how do I make $10,000 in 30 days? I would start a podcast.
Okay.
And I would DM 1,000 people tonight. Being a sponsor for my podcast.
A sponsor.
What's that mean? For the podcast. So, for example, I would DM Jake from Coconut Bowls, or I would DM a company that has got a presence, or I would DM, Grill, or I would DM the founder of Eagle Boys, or I would DM whoever it might be, any influential person who I know has a spare dollar, and I would ask them to sponsor my podcast. And I would create a deck around my podcast as to who, what, when, why, how, why this podcast got created, how I'm going to execute it, who I'm going to be targeting, why I'm doing this, and I reckon I could get 10 grand by tomorrow night.
Okay.
Well,
with confidence, you
with confidence. Because I look at DMing people on LinkedIn, I look at DMing people on Facebook, I look at DMing people on Instagram. The reason why people don't do it is because they're just lazy.
Yeah, I agree.
If we spent an hour right now, you could DM 100 people.
Yeah, probably.
And 9 times out of 10, one of those people will be like, fuck yeah, man, I'm really, really interested in your idea, and I like your enthusiasm and your passion towards the podcasting world and who you want to jump on. I reckon I would love to be a big supporter for yourself. But most importantly, I wouldn't DM everyone, meaning I wouldn't do a written copy to everyone. I would do a specialized message through video on Instagram.
Oh yeah, that's not done very much, is it?
It's not done too much because I think it's quite scary, and I think you get quite scared of the fact that what you may look like on video. But
it's probably easier though, because you can literally just film off your DMs and then just film something and just send it without even thinking.
Yeah, that's what I would probably do. I mean,
I think affiliate marketing is also very interesting as well. Now, that got me thinking about the idea of there's so many different ways in which you could find high ticket items and become an affiliate marketer for that potential item. So for example, I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a PT, and he really wants to get into the certification process of where he wants to build his own cert for his fitness and come from that side and that angle. And I was like, well, you can start with straight away going to a company that is already doing certs and then being like, hey, if I were to bring you more customers and you sell a cert at $2,500, if I could take $200 from every single new person I bring you to do a $2,500 cert, would you be interested in that? Most people will be like, heck, if I'm going to make $2,500 and I'm going to pay you $200 to bring me a new customer, that's a potential option. And then it might be that you then go to, say, I know I can't use a network, but it wouldn't be hard for me to reach out to the founder of FitStop, say Peter Hull, for example, and be like, okay, you're a franchise. You're someone who brings new people into the gym industry all the time. Some of them might not have their Cert 3 or Cert 4 in fitness but need to get it. How about I'll create a connection where every single franchisee that you have has to go through this great company to do your Cert 3 and Cert 4. Before you know it, he's opening 50 gyms and you can be making $200 per every single person that comes and does their cert through different companies. So that's just a small example of affiliate marketing. But I think there's so many different ways in which you could use different people's businesses to be able to find a way to connect them between other two people, and that connection can sometimes be worth something to a lot of people.
Think about the podcast idea, right? No. The reason why I'm harping on it is just because think about the people you've already interviewed.
Yeah.
Ex-founder of Eagle Boys, and then these guys' brand is going to be exposed to this person here. And then this guy 9 times out of 10 is going to be like, hey, who's this other brand? Like, who are you promoting? Who's your sponsor? How do I jump on that? Or alternatively, hey, can you connect me with this guy? So immediately you're like already adding value to that potential business who wants to sponsor your podcast. So like it's a really interesting way of maybe thinking. But then I would also think about it the other way, and I think there's a lot of companies out there, and Ben and I talk about this a lot, but they're not putting enough content out to the world at all. These are old dogs. They're old dogs.
They are, yeah.
So yeah, I would try and create some level of media company to some extent.
Right. Let's start a podcast for them or
something.
Isn't it? Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, they need direction.
Well, Dylan, for example, was raising money for his running, and he got $5,000 from Metricon. Like it was literally an ask. She's like, oh, okay, cool. It was like it's for mental health. Sign off, $5,000.
Yeah. Dude, at the end of the day, people like when you talk about your podcast, when you talk about the people who you want to jump on your podcast and why you're doing this beast, people will buy into that. You know, they want to be part of that. Dude, like if we had enough cash, man, we would probably chuck $100 at you just to be on your next podcast on the prelim ad.
Yeah.
You know, like,
oh, sure.
You know, just because you're interviewing the founder of GYG. You know, like it's just
right. I guess yeah. So you're in front of the guests as well as in front.
Well, your brand's exposed to just a whole different portfolio of people, and that just requires effort to message.
It's not. It's like mindless effort, and you probably could VA it if you wanted to, unless you want to do the videos, of course.
Be prepared sometimes to be let down. So if you can get over the fact that some people will be like, "No way," like, well, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, move on. So some people just can't get over that. You know what I mean? Some people will be like, "Well, I've been said no to 100 times."
I definitely don't encourage going through your DMs and clicking if it's been seen or not. That's never a fun. That's never a fun time.
Hey, I've noticed you've seen my message.
But if you do a video follow up, it probably would work, to be honest. But I mean, there's just so much opportunity.
Yeah,
I find that really interesting, and I'm probably going to do that. So I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, I think there's just so many ideas that you can think up, and at the end of the day, we talked about at the start. It's just execution. You just got to put yourself out there and try to execute on an idea. And 9 times out of 10, if you're dedicated and you really give it a good shot, you'll be able to get some sort of level of success.
Do you have any encouragement, advice for like younger kids, I guess, my age 20, 25, etc., like on how to execute an idea? Or was it really just as simple as that?
I think that
step one, like, do you have a strategy at all? When someone comes, because a lot of people come up with ideas. I mean, I'm not a creative dude. I don't come up with ideas. I kind of just feed off other people.
Yeah, like I don't think like when we're starting a business, like with the Sire Brothers, I don't think like you sit down and you should plan out the whole thing from start to finish of like I've got to get my legal done and my accounting done and I've got to do all this. Like I don't think that you should ever go into a business and try to think of that type of macro level. I think that sometimes it just takes with an idea and actually just starting it and trying to persist through that process. I think persistence is one of those big things with anyone starting a business. I think that there's no real, I don't think, exact step-by-step process. I think for everyone it's going to be slightly different. I think that if you're passionate about something, we talked about this at our men's health event, like people are walking around saying, I don't have any purpose, no purpose. And purpose has become this word in which people like, potentially they take their lives over the fact that they don't believe that they have purpose anymore. But at the end of the day, forget purpose and think about passion. So stop sitting here and being like, I have no purpose, you know what I mean? Or I don't have anything that I want to do. The fact is, like, find something that you're passionate about. Don't care if you don't make money straight away. But if you are passionate about something, you're going to feel better straight away. And then all of a sudden that's going to rub off and sometimes turn into something where you can make money. So forget about purpose and think about passion. Like,
and how do you find something you're passionate about? I mean, and what is something?
Well, I think there's always. I think you're kidding yourself if you don't have something that you're passionate about. Like, look, if you're passionate about running, like go start running and then start doing it for charity, or start raising money for something to be able to. Like, the fact is that there's always something that you're passionate. If you're passionate about video games, heck, there's kids making $1 million off video games these days. Like, you can't.
That's what I was going to say, man. Like, just look at your day.
Yeah. What do you want to do every day?
Like, look at what you do every day and then dissect it.
What if someone's not happy with what they do every day?
Well, then find the thing that you are happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it comes down to experimenting things.
Experimenting.
I maybe attack this in a different limelight. I attack it in like, if you don't truly execute an idea, you don't really want to do it.
No. Okay. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
like, it's just so simple.
Yeah.
Like, Google, how do I launch a business online? Or how do I launch a business? How do I execute an idea?
The information's there.
The information's there. but you actually just don't want to, like, deeply you don't want to do it. Either you're wanting to launch an idea for your family or for your friends so you can be cool because they've got a drop shipping business that is now dog beds, because they want to keep up with the craze.
Just because,
Self-awareness, right? Because I do that. It's just like...
But I got another, like, the counterpoint though. What if...
Love that.
Cool. So you okay, right, you don't want to execute, but what if you did? I've got a really funny example that is kind of irrelevant. I'll go full circle.
Cool.
A mate of mine, Dylan, and I decided to go to Nimbin for a trip.
Nice.
So we thought of this idea. We thought of an idea where we're going to get notepads, get a pen, and we're like, we need to come up with some podcast ideas. What's the best way to do it? We're driving back off Byron, we're halfway back to the Gold Coast, and we thought, what if we went to Nimbin? And I'm not going to say the camera because Mum sees us, but like you get the point, right? Like, so
for some acai bowls.
Right. And so we thought of this idea, and we're like, Dylan was like, fuck it, and he just goes and does a U-turn, and it's another 2 hours to get back all the way over there, and he does it, and we actually go there, and we go take action, and we actually go do it, and it's just like, the idea was really fascinating, but we didn't necessarily want to do it because we didn't want to execute. As soon as we did it, like, we felt really good that we did it. Now, why am I saying this? Because I thought it was a really fun time, and it didn't actually work the way we did. We didn't write. We stopped halfway through a sentence in our notepad before we gave up. But point being, like, someone has an idea, then starting a podcast, but they don't want to execute. But if they did execute, they'd actually, maybe find their passion, their love. What do you say to that?
Well, it's just a scare factor, and then it's overcoming the scare factor. Like, you're scared. You're really, really scared of the outcome. You're scared of failing. You're scared of what that looks like to your friends and family and your colleagues. You're really, really scared. So then it comes down to, well, how do I deal with the scare factor? How do I deal with the failure? How do I, when the business does fail, how do I deal with my family's emotions? How do I deal with their comments? How do I deal with my friends' comments? So it's like a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you deal with that? Then it comes down to self-awareness.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily like a fact of like not knowing what your passion is. The fact is that you could be passionate about something and just too scared to do it because you're worried about what everyone thinks. And I think that's an important thing to take note on. Is that I think there's a lot of people that don't do things because they're worried about what someone else thinks. But I think they forget the fact is that, what's that saying? It's like the people who care doesn't matter. The people who matter don't care. I think that's the saying. So sometimes you've got to put that out of your head and be like, at the end of the day, I can go and do this thing in Nimbin, and maybe, these 5 or 6 other people in my life who I thought were really good people in my life, actually maybe they aren't really good people in my life, and maybe the people that should be in my life are the people that I found in Nimbin, or the other people that really go, heck, I wanted to do that in Nimbin, and before you know it, you create a community of people around you that, really care about the topic that you actually cared about. So I think it's like getting over the fact of what other people think and sometimes just doing it. So it's like it's different. I don't think it's not necessarily about their passion at all. I think it just comes down to the fact that they're worried about what other people are going to think about their passion.
Dude, it's really is fear. Because like if when I now own a media company called Insider Media, and when I launched that, I was so scared about what everyone was going to think because I'm like, it's not taking any time away from Acai Brothers, which is the baby itself, you know what I mean? So like, what are people going to think? What are people going to think? What happens if it doesn't work? But like, all of these things run through your head, but then it's just like, launch, go.
Just do it,
Just see what happens.
Take the first step, as you said.
But like, it's such an interesting conversation.
I love that conversation.
It's fear. It has to be fear. What else is it? It's either fear or you truly
laziness,
don't want to do it.
which is laziness, which is why you're lazy. It's not your fault. It's you just don't want to do it. Like,
Like you could, like there's just so much you could do. The fact, like you could say I'm passionate about sleeping, but you can make money from sleeping. Like you could set up a video camera of you sleeping every single day, and people watch you sleep, and then before you know it, Koala hits you up and goes, "Hey, can you sleep on my Koala mattress? I'll pay you $2,000." Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just. But the fact is that someone is interested in something, you know what I mean? Like, and you're just really kidding yourself.
There's a lot of people in the world.
You're kidding yourself if you think that your idea is silly to someone, because it might be silly to the people, as I said, that don't matter.
Yeah, and not everyone's meant to like your idea.
Just do it. Just do it. Just go.
Launch.
Or alternatively, try and find someone who has done it multiple times, i.e. us.
Yeah.
And like, just do it for them. And if I'd let them come along with the journey with you know what I mean? So they've come up with the idea, but then they've collaborated with the right person to help the execution, because that person is experienced in the executing part. but not necessarily the idea generator part.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so like
Surround
that
yourself
would
with
work.
people, that sometimes the strength to your weakness as well.
Yeah, collaboration is key. Like business partnerships
Collaboration.
is I think it's a really great way to do business.
I was like just listening to the Nike book on the way on the car, and I kind of just had the realization that look, there was this entrepreneur, and that was obviously one of the big drivers. But really, like, why did Nike sell so much? Why did it get so big? It was just a matter of collaborating. Like he collaborated with an athlete, and it was just business, and then he sold to their audience, and then that audience then talked, and then he went and collaborated with. I mean, I don't know much. I haven't only listened to 2 hours of it, but I'm assuming he's into like Jordan and how then he got Jordans, and now they're really big. Like, he didn't do anything. He just partnered with someone, had the same vision, which was about sports and athlete and get people out there because he was into running, but he couldn't run. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I love, that example of collaboration. Like,
well, like Lululemon was built off all grassroots marketing. Like even to this day, they don't do big billboards and put their stuff on the back of things, or even do that much in terms of like paid ad spends and things like that. But what they do is they build a really tight knit community of people that love their product, and they have a word that they use called a maven. And a maven, so you've got a maven, a trendsetter, and then a follower. Right? So maven is the person who actually invents something. So if I wanted to wear baggy jeans and I'm the very first person that brings baggy jeans in, it's not necessarily me that creates the trend. It's me that the trendsetters see, and before you know it, those trendsetters copy it, and then that's when it becomes something popular, and then that's when the followers and follow the trendsetters. So that's sort of how Lululemon did it. They found all the mavens, they gave their tights, they got them invested in the brand. Those people started wearing tights, and maybe there was this amazing yoga instructor, but before you know it, this influencer saw this amazing yoga instructor that they follow. And this influencer now wears these tights, and before you know it, you've got all these followers wearing it. Now I didn't have to go to the $200,000 influencer that cost me that much to do an ad. I just went to a person that maybe that influencer looks to in that industry, and before you know it, that maven then sets the trend. The trendsetter takes it, turns it into something that people know, and then you've got to follow. And that's sort of how Lululemon built itself. It was built on all grassroots, community level stuff where they just got people invested in what they had to do, and they said, look, we do the best tights and we do the best whatever. And people believed it, and they do it. And they stayed true to the word, created a great product, and then you can't go wrong when you have that stuff. So.
And you know what I would love to see? Sorry to interrupt, but you know what I would love to see? Like if a university student a year 12 student finishes year 12, they're 18 years of age, and they have an idea. I would love them just to put it out to the online community and be like, hey guys, I've got this amazing idea, because 9 times out of 10, no one's going to steal it. Let's get real. Because no one cares, no one has time. But 9% of people won't really do anything about it.
Of course not.
But what they will do is they might be able to connect that person with the right people. So talking about it more, we have these amazing ideas in our head, and we have run stories and scenarios and all of that bullshit in our mind. Literally, right? And as soon as you start putting it out to the online world, to your community, friends, family, colleagues, whatever it might be, people start to recognize that you have this potential of creating ideas. And then they recognize that, they see it, then 9 times out of 10 they might want to catch up with you to talk about the idea, and if they can't help you, then they probably know someone who will.
Exactly, everyone, you reach out to your contacts.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised how many successful people are happy to give up 30 minutes of their time for free. Like, you don't actually have to pay them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think people get surprised when they reach out to for us, being able to sit down with Steve and Mark. So we come from the franchise industry, and here you've got a guy from Guzman Y Gomez who's the founder of Guzman Y Gomez. So for a young franchisor, or for someone who's doing it, we didn't have to pay to sit down with Steve Marks. We just actually reached out to him. He said, heck yeah, let's have a 30-minute meeting. We had a 30-minute meeting, actually went for 60 minutes.
Wow.
And before we knew it, we got so much value out of that meeting. Did we, did he invest in Acai Brothers, or did we get all this money? Well, no, it's got nothing to do with that. But the fact is, we got so much information and so much, motivation even to keep doing what we're doing and know that we're on the right path. So I think that people also just forget or think that reaching out to some of these people who are successful, they're going to get, denied straight away.